Let's get right into it. 10. The Testosterone Trap. Your brain on testosterone is basically a Ferrari with bicycle brakes. When men meet someone they're attracted to, their testosterone levels spike, which sounds great until you realize testosterone also reduces activity in the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for rational thinking and impulse control. So while women's brains are still doing a thorough background check, running a cost-benefit analysis, and consulting with the Council of Past Relationship Trauma, men's brains have already signed the lease, named the future kids, and picked out matching Halloween costumes. The dopamine hits faster, the attachment accelerates quicker, and suddenly he's texting you 15 times before you've even decided if you like his shoes. Basically, his brain chemistry turned him into a golden retriever who just found his favorite person, and logic left the building 3 neurochemicals ago. 9. The Scarcity Delusion. Here's something wild. Men are statistically more likely to interpret basic human decency as romantic interest. You smiled at him while ordering coffee? Marriage material. You laughed at his joke? Soulmate confirmed. You made eye contact for 2.3 seconds? Start picking baby names. This isn't just desperation. It's a cognitive bias called sexual overperception theory. Evolutionary psychologists think this developed because throughout history, men who assumed interest when there was none might have had more reproductive opportunities than men who missed actual signals, which means modern guys are walking around with caveman software that mistakes politeness for desire. So when a woman actually shows genuine interest, his brain doesn't just register it, it throws a parade, sets off fireworks, and declares a national holiday. The problem? She might have just been enjoying the conversation while he's already mentally redecorating his apartment for 2. Congrats! Evolution really played the long game on this disaster. 8. Emotional starvation mode. Men are living in an emotional famine that would make Victorian orphans say, "Damn, that's rough." Society spent decades telling guys that feelings are weakness, vulnerability is embarrassing, and crying is for babies and rom-com protagonists. So most men are walking around with the emotional support network of a cactus in a storage unit. They can't cry to their friends, they can't process emotions without being mocked, and suddenly, boom, a woman shows up who actually listens, asks how their day was, and doesn't immediately change the subject when things get real. For her, this is normal human interaction. For him, this is the emotional equivalent of finding water in the desert. His brain latches onto this person like she's the only therapist, best friend, and life coach he's ever had. Because functionally, she is. He's not obsessed with her, he's obsessed with the feeling of being emotionally seen for the first time since he was 7. Which would be touching if it wasn't so incredibly sad and kind of your whole friend group's problem now. 7. The projection problem. Men fall in love with a fantasy faster than Netflix can autoplay the next episode. Within 3 conversations, his brain has already written an entire limited series about who you are, what you want, and how perfectly you fit into his life narrative. Except he's not actually falling for you. He's falling for the version of you he invented, using 30% real data and 70% wishful thinking. Psychologists call this idealization, and it's basically your brain's way of photoshopping reality before you've even taken the picture. He sees you laugh at a dark joke and decides you have the exact same sense of humor. You mention you like hiking, and suddenly he's his adventure soulmate who definitely wants to backpack through Patagonia. Meanwhile, you might hate camping, but he's already bought matching sleeping bags. The creepy part isn't that he's projecting. It's how fast the projection hardens into concrete belief. By date 3, he's not getting to know you. He's trying to get you to match the script he already wrote. And when reality doesn't cooperate, that's when things get weird. 6. The validation void. Most men are running on empty when it comes to genuine validation. They're not getting complimented on their appearance, nobody's hyping them up, and the last time someone told them they looked good was when their mom said it in 2017. So when a woman shows interest, like actual, visible, undeniable interest, it's not just attraction they're feeling. It's the first hit of validation they've had in years, and it goes straight to their head like tequila on an empty stomach. Suddenly, this person isn't just someone they like. She's proof that they're likable, attractive, and worth something. The obsession isn't really about her. It's about how she makes him feel about himself, which sounds shallow, until you realize this dude has been emotionally invisible for so long that one compliment about his haircut could have done the same thing. The problem is now his entire self-worth is tangled up with whether or not she texts back. And that's a recipe for behavior that'll end up in a Reddit thread titled, "Is this guy okay?" Spoiler, he's not. 5. The Fixation Firmware. Male brains are wired to hyperfocus, which is great for building civilizations and solving Rubik's Cubes, but terrible for dating. When men get interested in something, anything, their brains release dopamine and activate reward pathways that essentially say, focus on this. This is now your entire personality. It's the same mechanism that makes guys spend 6 months building a replica Death Star out of toothpicks or learning every stat of every player in fantasy football. But when that mechanism locks onto a person, oh boy. Suddenly, she's not just someone he's dating. She's a mission objective, a puzzle to solve, a quest to complete. His brain starts cataloging every detail, analyzing every text for hidden meaning, and strategizing the next interaction like it's a high-stakes negotiation. Women tend to have more diffuse attention patterns, spreading emotional and mental energy across relationships, work, hobbies, and life. Meanwhile, his brain just put all its eggs in one basket, set the basket on a pedestal, and started a 24/7 surveillance operation. Healthy? Absolutely not. Biologically predictable? Unfortunately, yes. 4. The Loneliness Accelerator. Men are lonelier than they've ever been, and the stats are honestly depressing. Studies show men have fewer close friendships, less emotional intimacy, and more social isolation than women. Most guys can't name 3 people they'd call in a crisis that aren't their mom or their partner. So when a woman enters their life who's funny, interesting, and doesn't immediately ghost them, the attachment doesn't just form, it detonates. She's not just a romantic interest. She's his entire social infrastructure, emotional support system, and reason to leave the house. The obsession is less, I can't stop thinking about her, more, she's the only meaningful human connection I have, and if this disappears, I'm back to talking to my plant houses. Which is why guys can go from 0 to we should move in together in 3 weeks. It's not romance, it's survival instinct. His brain is clinging to her like a lifeboat in the middle of an ocean made entirely of loneliness and Call of Duty lobbies. Tragic? Yes. Also explains a lot of your DMs? Also yes. 3. The Intimacy Imbalance. Here's the thing nobody talks about. For most men, romantic relationships are the only place they experience real intimacy. Women have friends they share feelings with, support systems they rely on, and spaces where vulnerability is normalized. Men have beer and silence. So when a guy meets someone he can actually be open with, it's not just exciting, it's life-changing. Suddenly, this one person becomes his therapist, best friend, emotional outlet, and source of physical affection, all rolled into one. Meanwhile, she's got a whole ecosystem of intimacy happening across friendships and family. So to her, he's one piece of a larger puzzle. To him, she's the whole puzzle, the table it's on, and the box it came in. Psychologists call this intimacy concentration, and it's why men tend to fall harder and faster, because they're pouring all their emotional needs into one relationship because they literally don't have anywhere else to put them. Which is why losing that relationship feels apocalyptic for men and sad but survivable for women. She has a support network. He has her, a gym membership, and unresolved feelings he'll never discuss. 2. The Biological Betrayal. Let's talk about oxytocin, the so-called love hormone that's supposed to make everyone feel warm and fuzzy. Except it doesn't hit men and women the same way, not even close. When women experience attraction and intimacy, oxytocin works alongside estrogen to create bonding that's gradual, layered, and emotionally complex. But when men's brains release oxytocin, it teams up with testosterone and vasopressin to create something way more intense, possessiveness. Not the cute, "you're mine" kind. The "my brain is now chemically convinced that your presence is critical to my survival" kind. This hormonal cocktail makes men bond faster, but also makes them more territorial, more anxious about losing the person, and more likely to spiral into obsessive thought patterns. It's not romantic, it's biochemical chaos masquerading as feelings. So while she's still in the getting to know you phase, his brain's already running a full-scale neural siege, pumping out chemicals that make him feel like he's found the one, lost the one, and needs to protect the one all at once. Basically, his hormones are throwing a rave, and rational thought wasn't invited. 1. The fantasy of being chosen. Here's the real creepy part. Men aren't obsessed with women. They're obsessed with the idea of being chosen. Society tells guys their entire lives that their worth is tied to achievement, success, and conquest. Romantic validation isn't just about connection, it's proof they're valuable, desirable, and worth something in a world that constantly makes them feel disposable. So when a woman picks him, when she laughs at his jokes, agrees to a date, says yes to another night together, it's not just affection he's feeling, it's the intoxicating high of being enough. His brain doesn't just register attraction, it registers victory. And once that happens, his identity starts wrapping itself around this relationship, because it's the first time in forever he's felt genuinely seen and selected. The obsession isn't about love, it's about the ego boost, the validation hit, and the fear that losing her means losing proof that he was ever worth choosing in the first place. Which is why guys can spiral so hard after rejection or a breakup. It's not just heartbreak, it's existential. She didn't just leave, she took the evidence that he mattered. And that's the creepy part nobody wants to admit. A lot of male obsession isn't about the woman at all. It's about what she represents. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. That's all for today. I'll be making more videos like this, so subscribe if you don't want to miss them.